right, so I've been out for the last week and a half. Do we have any big agenda items that we should talk about, or should we? Anyone know things that have come up?
Yeah, so there is one thing which relates to telemetry and performance,
Okay.
which we should talk about.
All right.
So basically, telemetry uses a lot of CPU, and then we get a report failed, like a flood of report failed in the Envoy logs, and then under sustained load, Istio telemetry pod has actually died with out of memory. And
At what rate do you have to characterize this, even with auto scaling or anything?
We could characterize it, but there is, but I think that so far what we've seen is if we throw enough CPU at it, like massively over provision, the problem does not occur. But any reasonable CPU, the problem can occur if there is enough traffic. So we need to do sampling or some back pressure or something like that to cut down on the amount of stuff that it has to.
What is reasonable CPU?
Yeah, whose CPU? The mixer?
Yes, mixer CPU. Mixer telemetry is the biggest user of CPU in Istio. I mean, that's simply because it does a lot of new work which wasn't being done before. So it's not all overhead, but it is the biggest consumer of CPU, and if we just throw more CPU at it, like so, for example, in one experiment we had a 7 CPU mixer, and that was auto scale 5 times, like 5 or 4 or whatever the default is, and there we did not see the problem. But something that's even a little bit smaller, which still appears kind of large, and we see the problem, and then the mixer starts.
So this is with how many thousands of reports a second?
So we have seen this with. I have the numbers. I can show you the numbers from several different experiments. But I think that the bottom line is we have to implement something which does it more gracefully at whenever it happens, it does it more gracefully than it's doing now. Like we should be able to say that, oh, we don't need all the metrics. I don't want to use so much CPU. I want the metrics, but I don't want to collect each and every sample. So I think this is pointing to some client-side sampling of metrics.
If you want to sample, you need to do aggregation. If you want to be smart about it. We don't have the capacity to do aggregation on the proxy.
Like you can sample, but we don't have any way to say like what we just lose big requests, right? There's no way to account.
But wait, before we start optimizing, I'd like to understand the performance numbers better. Like where in Mixer is this time being spent? Is it all in the adapter, for example?
Mostly, no. So about 60% before it gets to Prometheus. So 60% in the Mixer front end.
And that's generating Prometheus, so it's not even doing RPCs going out.
That is correct.
And so do you know the data rate that Mixer is experiencing?
The total number of requests. So in that one experiment, it's 1,800 requests per second at the ingress. And if you have a factor of, so the graph is about 2 deep, 2.5, so you multiply that, so like 4,000, and then we have 2 reports per call. So it's total like 7,000 or 8,000 reports per second, but they're batched, so whatever the batching thing is. So the total amount of work that it's doing.
There's something wrong, right? Because that's a 7 QPS to Mixer.
But so Mixer doesn't do work on QPS. Mixer does work on how many things are contained in the report, right? The QPS is not the main determinant of how much work Mixer has to do.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem reasonable to me that processing 7,000 requests is a problem. 7,000 things in a loop is a problem. It should not be a problem. I think
it consumes CPU.
What?
So well, I guess that's why I raised the issue that if you think that we can get this down significantly so that it's not an issue, then that's, I guess, preferred. If not, we have to think about sampling and back pressure.
We cannot do back pressure. This is a report. What does it mean to do back pressure?
It's like, stop sending reports. I cannot handle these.
But then the proxy has to be smart enough about what reports not to send. And you don't have that such logic in the proxy.
The thing is, when telemetry dies, we lose all the reports anyway. So better sample randomly than just saying, oh, now for the next 2 minutes until this comes back up, everything is lost.
No, I mean, back pressure means you reduce the rate of the client. We have no such control in the mesh. We cannot slow down application requests because
No. So back pressure would be an indication to the client to start sampling. It's not that it's going to defer the work and keep.
So yes, I just think it's not really back pressure here because I don't think we have any way to actually affect the rate of incoming data. We can drop it. And
correct. Yeah. So then
shedding load because
right.
you cannot handle it.
So load sharing is what I really meant. Like doing some smart load sharing, which is sampling. Right. So you either
it's the worst kind of sampling.
Mm-hmm.
Well, doing a mixer is probably a smarter thing to do because you might bucket it properly.
Doing it in Mixer?
Maybe.
So the later we do it, the more cost that we have already paid.
I know, but like maybe you can do just a bit of smartness Mixer before.
Is the time serialization?
So I have a bunch of performance graphs for this. But so anyway, I'm going to open an issue for this. There were other performance issues which were like in pilot and elsewhere, which were kind of taking precedence. That's why I haven't cataloged this in an issue yet, but I will do that. So I have a flame graph for this to see where we're spending time. And the 60% number of before and after is through experimentation. So what we did was we ran the same experiment, but we just deleted the Prometheus adapter. And that brought down the Istio telemetry CPU by about 40%. So 60% was already used before that.
But that's not, I mean, there are other adapters that happen, right? Like, yeah, we have Kubernetes adapter running, we have this standard IO logger.
Standard IO is always disabled. All these experiments, standard IO is disabled. So okay. Prometheus is the only adapter that is actually like doing anything on the telemetry
side. Is there any blocking happening? I mean, you could see lower CPU when Linux is enabled if something blocks on IO.
Yeah, so the relative percentages don't tell us much. 60% of the time is spent decoding the incoming request and doing the instance processing to produce instances, and 40% is in Prometheus. The absolute time is more interesting in this particular case. Per incoming request, how much time is spent doing actually the fact that the 60-40 would seem to indicate it's running normally from that standpoint. to me, that sounds about right in the amount of time we should be using on either side of the fence. It's the absolute time that's the problem. Why are we spending so much time total? Is there a bottleneck somewhere? Are we doing something stupid?
Right. I think all those are, yes, we have to answer all those questions. That is correct. But I think that 60/40 is important because when you remove the adapter and when there is nothing to dispatch to, we do not generate instances. When there is no adapter to send things to, we don't generate instances. We just, it's basically going to go through the config saying, okay, there is nothing to do, and go back.
Okay, so that further reinforces to me that then there's something stupid happening.
Yeah.
Because Mixer doesn't do anything else then. All it's doing is reading the incoming request and then saying there's nothing to do and go get the next one.
Yes, that, I mean, but my point is that I think it is significant that so much time is spent before it hits the adapter.
Yes, it is significant, but it's most likely a bug somewhere because there should be no.
Yeah, it should really not take that much
time. Serialization.
So someone needs to take this. So I'll open an issue, and I have a bunch of stuff on it already, which I will put there. And
if you show me how to reproduce this, I'd love to play with the front end code in the Mixer and figure this out.
Okay.
So, what are our targets? Like, what is the target for number of reports per second per CPU?
So that, okay. So we don't know that number. However, irrespective of that, having a graceful degradation at whatever the target is still important. Right? Like if the answer always is okay, Mixer dies, and then you lose like telemetry randomly for some time.
Okay, but we need to know the number because then we need to limit the amount of data per Mixer. It dies because it spooms, right? Or GC can't keep up.
Yeah.
So the only way to stop it is if you put some rate limiter. We need to know some numbers to control.
Right, and if that rate limit is driven in a more automatic way by Mixer telling its clients that, hey, like this is too fast, I cannot handle this much. Rather than...
So, yeah, the effect will be that Mixer will reject, but it's right. Mixer's job to reject. And that means so Mixer has to decide when it's time to shed. Or tell the client to go somewhere else, right, to add some other Mixer.
Right, so if we have to share it in Mixer, then it has to be as early as possible, of course, right? Like we can't pay so much cost and then reject.
Well, like, I mean, we probably don't load balance correctly, right? We probably send too much stuff to the first Mixer. That's part of the reason, because the first Mixer does not ever reject and it will just keep accumulating time.
Yeah, until it dies, and then everyone, and then the other one, and then the other one dies.
So this is load balancing problem here. But you need to like make client to randomly switch Mixers.
Yeah. So okay, so we should probably move on.
So I guess in the end, there's two things here. What is the actual capacity that Mixer has, and what do we do when we exceed that capacity?
Correct. Exactly. So
right now we don't do it. We crash. Is how we deal with it.
Yeah. So right now we crash, and then we just lose like random requests.
Why doesn't autoscaler kick in before the crash happens? Why that? I mean, it is a CPU at the moment,
I
right?
mean, so the times that we have seen the crash is when all of them are up.
Right, we just limit it to 5 or whatever
Yeah.
instances. And
Okay.
so it splits to 5 and then stops.
And then stops.
No more.
Yeah. So the thing is, if we throw unlimited CPU at this problem, then I think we should be fine.
Okay. Have you
It's interesting that
tried?
if we move mixer to be per node, I think this kind of problem just kind of fixes itself.
Not necessarily, right? Because ultimately the work done by telemetry depends on the total number of requests that are processed on that node, which can vary.
Correct, but there's an implicit limit there. So as long as the mixer is provisioned to deal with the maximum capacity of that node's sidecars, we're okay.
I don't think it's related. You can actually size mixer if it's like independent of putting it on the node and just make it bigger and have really large limits, and then it should work even without making it a daemon set.
I guess I'm thinking if it's on the node, it's easier to predict the maximum load that it receives, because there's a finite number of sidecars on each node.
It can possibly run.
Yeah.
Potentially, okay.
I don't know. Okay. Well, that's
Is Mixer reporting to Mixer?
Yes. Wait, does telemetry report to telemetry?
Yes. We tried seeing if that impacts anything.
No, I haven't tried changing that at all.
Double the load. Definitely could sample that.
Oh, does it double the load?
If you have a telemetry call, it's telemetry itself, then yes, it double the load.
No, but see, the number of telemetry calls are not that many because the clients are already batching 1,000.
Assuming the batching.
Yeah, so
the
actual request per second on Mixer, even in all this, is not, it's like 1,000 or at least 500 less than whatever. So that's the total numbers. Okay, so I will open those two issues or repurpose issues if I already find issues that deal with something similar.
Cool.
And then I just had another agenda item on this.
Go for it.
So the second agenda item is that I'm again seeing actually I opened up a bug about that, but the attribute index not defined error, which means that the mixer doesn't have the.
Yeah, we shipped 1.0 with a missing index. And
this is not 1.0 though. This is 1.01. So
it's another attribute.
Yeah. So we have to fix that, and we have to put in something which is not code review to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
So what's the error?
So the issue is that if Mixer's global dictionary and Mixer client's global dictionary don't match, specifically if Mixer client's global dictionary is larger than Mixer's, then they can't communicate.
Okay, yeah, so we've got written down the exact upgrade procedures, and first you need to upgrade Mixer. Then
No. So
yeah,
that's so
the API dependencies is mismatched.
So I think upgrade procedure is one, and that can be followed. But this is a installation where everything is already upgraded to 101, to the existing build, to the existing latest build of the 1.0 release branch.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
And and that is returning that error, which means it's a coding error, right? It's like a commit, merge, or something like that, right? Essentially, the proxy Mixer client is compiled with a bigger dictionary than
Yeah. So the issue is it's very difficult to tell in Istio repo what version of API proxy is using, because it's a binary block that gets downloaded, part of the CI build. Unless we expose it somehow for the build artifact.
So there was a PR, I thought that was out, that was going to address whenever something like that was updated, the proxy or the API, we have to rerun the generation script in Istio.
Yes.
That was
Okay, so that's still pending right now. There's still hasn't been checked in, but that's the solution. Because we also had changes. We had changes in various protos that weren't reflected in the generated code because nobody ran Go generate.
Yeah, that also needs to be fixed.
That doesn't fix this issue, because what happens here is that a proxy uses a newer version of API than Istio.
Of the repo?
Than Istio.
Yeah. So proxy is compiled against different SHA of API than Istio is.
But I'm saying, like, whenever the proxy SHA is updated in Istio, we need to be running the same validation, right?
Yeah, which again points to proxy merging with Istio.
Well, I have a PR to merge it, but it doesn't work in circle. But yes, we need to get a way to get API SHA from proxy binary, because all we get in Istio is a binary block, and it's difficult to trace where it came from and what API repo uses.
And this manifests as when you're trying to use a new attribute, you can't.
You don't see it yet.
Yes.
It's not terrible.
Well, no. So actually, the report failed. That's the error message that you get at the proxy client. I don't know if Mixer and I think Martin would know this, but if Mixer is not able to decode the bag, does it just throw away the bag, or does it continue without that attribute?
No, it just says this is a corrupt bag. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So all checks and reports are failing?
If they contain that string, yes.
We should probably be more lenient.
So whatever that string is, if the bag contains that, then it's just rejected completely. Check will reject it too with the same error. I just haven't seen it in check.
So I feel like we need a fix there that says if there's extra stuff in there, you just can't do anything with it. But like we shouldn't.
Well, we don't really support the case of proxy against old control
It
plane.
worries me to have these silent failure modes for things around like access control. You add something, it doesn't work. You think it's working because there's no errors.
Right. But wait, basically, it won't be a silent failure if you're trying to use it. But if you don't have any config that's trying to use this new attribute, why should we fail?
No. But so think about this, right? If on Mixer side, right, you use some attribute in an expression or a string in an expression, right? This doesn't have to be an attribute. It's just an index. Right, just a dictionary index, so it doesn't have to be an attribute. Maybe a value, not an attribute. And now you couldn't decode the value, so it got assigned value what? Or the attribute was removed, and then if you have in the expression, if you have a check on that, then you'll just reach incorrect conclusions, and you wouldn't know.
But hold on. So what you're describing though is there's two spaces, right? There's the attributes that are being sent by the proxy, and there's what the config is specifying.
Correct.
So if we just take the attributes that are coming from the proxy and say, look, you're giving me an attribute, I don't know what that is, throw it out, but continue. To Doug's point, if the config is not referencing that attribute, nobody cares.
No, but this is not just attributes, it's also the values of attributes. Like this is happening in the compression protocol, right? So the compression protocol, like where it says this index not found, I think it's also saying that I couldn't decode this index, which means it could be an attribute, it could be a value.
Well, so is it reasonable to same thing? No. Okay. So if you throw away the whole attribute, even if the value is bogus, then
that's a problem.
Change the config behavior.
Exactly. You will reach a different conclusion. So I don't think it's safe to. I don't think it's safe to be lenient here.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for policy. Maybe for telemetry we can be lenient.
I think it's
what if
fine
we're
not to be
lenient
lenient.
only if it's attribute name as opposed to a value?
But see, then we have to make sure that the attribute name is not referenced in config. If we can be sure of that, then I think what you're saying is correct. Then we can safely just discard it.
Oh, no, that's right. Okay, so the pattern is, if it's not in the dictionary, then it's just a regular string. So you could have config that uses a particular attribute name. It's working fine today, and then tomorrow somebody adds that string to the dictionary. The proxy starts sending it encoded with the dictionary, and now it no longer matches what the mixer sees, and the behavior is not different. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we can't have that.
Okay, so we need build time assurances that we're not doing the wrong thing.
Yes.
So doesn't this imply are we binding then mixer to versions of the proxy, and they both have to be upgraded at the same time?
No. So the inequality always is, if mixer knows more, then that's okay.
Yeah, but
proxy cannot know more than mixer.
Yeah, but that implies that every time I upgrade the proxy, I have to upgrade mixer.
Yeah, and that's already stipulated. Like we always upgrade control plane before we upgrade.
And it reflects what you're saying. Keep using until a certain index. So at least if you really have to use a new proxy with old control plane, that will work.
Okay, that's a good idea. We could artificially limit the dictionary size.
I don't think we really support that case though. We don't really support new proxies with old.
Right. We always have newer control plane and old proxies, and we already do that for pilot.
Yes, old pilot does not work with new proxies.
Right.
So that's
like upgrade process always upgrade control plane first and then upgrade proxies. But I think
something about this just seems not right. Like stepping back, right? We shouldn't have such tight dependencies between independent things.
Well, the question is, how independent are they?
Well, it could be negotiated. It just seems complicated.
Yeah, so originally when we had the gRPC, the bidirectional streaming protocol, this wasn't an issue because it was negotiated.
Right.
Now, on every connection, the proxy might be talking to a different mixer. There's no opportunity for negotiation unless you want to add extra RPCs for every single RPC. So we end up with a model where
actually, Martin, we could still do that, and then the proxy could settle on the least index, right? Then say, yeah, I mean, it is like, okay, I know you know more, like one of the mixers knows more indexes, but I'm just going to restrict it to the least index of the errors that I've gotten so far. And
yeah, they have to track it on the proxy, right? They have a cluster pool of mixers.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you want to put
you don't.
With the proxy, when the proxy talks to mixer, it can receive failures because of dictionary, and then have to retry with a smaller dictionary. That would work, and then it could keep the memory.
So mixer
allowed to use.
Right. So mixer will send its max index, and then the proxy should trim its own. And if it gets to another mixer and it has a shorter index than that, then it should like keep on shortening it until it reaches the.
Or we need a different strategy, right? So like this dictionary compression of values, proving too brittle.
It's not bad. It's like what HTTP2 uses.
Yeah, HPAC is basically the same, right?
Yeah, it's the same. H2PAC is the same.
Yeah. The difference is our protocol is changing a lot faster than HTTP2. That's the problem. Right. But I think ultimately the solution is the new stuff we're looking at, where we're just going to get rid of this whole protocol completely potentially.
Right. Yeah. So I think for now all we have to do is make sure that either build time or verification time, right? Like there should be some. Can we actually verify, like given two proxies, right? Given a mixer and a proxy, can we just verify that the index is who's smaller, who is larger, and then that's like,
No,
that should just fail the verification testing. Yeah, that doesn't match.
we need to expose the dictionary size in proxy. I don't think it's exposed in any way. So it's either from metrics or logging or debug output somewhere.
Well, actually, the
think-
proxy sends it with every message. So when the proxy talks to Mixer, it says the maximum index it supports. And that's how Mixer knows how to limit itself when it's responding.
We could add a test to just validate that, I guess. Just make a fake check and observe the maximum dictionary size.
Yeah, so in that way, we know this failure like much earlier. Because right now, this is actually running.
Okay,
Yeah,
so right at the beginning of the API call, Mixer could fail saying the proxy's dictionary is out of date with what the Mixer, the proxy's dictionary is bigger than what the Mixer knows, and then could stop right there.
Yeah, I think that hard failure would be good. And then to add to that, we should also do what Kuat suggested, which is add an environment variable in Mixer client to limit the size of the dictionary. Because if it goes to somewhere, then there is no recourse now, right? Like, so this actually does provide a recourse, which is to, okay, fine. Like this did not work, but here is how you make it work without recompiling. You put the environment variable and now it will work.
So there's another approach. We could be more graceful, or I don't know if it's graceful, but more resilient. If when the proxy talks to Mixer, if it gets notified by the Mixer that, hey, you're using a dictionary index that's too big, the proxy could send a new dictionary to Mixer.
No, but then that again goes back to what happens when there is multiple. So every proxy is going to send its dictionary to Mixer.
Well, just once. Just if Mixer responds with that error, it's basically the dictionary is always the same and growing. So whoever's the proxy that got the biggest dictionary at some point will have sent it to all the Mixers, and then everything's happy.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable. Maybe in addition to saying that you have a large API, you also send the words that are not known, so Mixer can learn and then increase the count.
Yeah, the challenge is again the load balancing. Right, so proxy talks to Mixer. Mixer says, "I don't know what the hell you're talking about," and then proxy tries to send it the dictionary, but it goes to a different Mixer.
Right. I think successively trimming is, I think, a better approach where you get errors and then eventually you settle on the least one and then you can talk to everyone now.
Oh, wait a minute. Why is the dictionary not a CRD?
Dictionary is not a CRD because
compiled into proxy.
Yeah, it's compiled into proxy.
We can make a config.
Pilot could send it to proxy. Yeah, so when we did all this stuff, none of these CRD things existed, right? This was before those days. But at this point, it seems reasonable to say, look, this is your global dictionary for this mesh. Everybody uses this.
It will significantly blow up the size of the endoconfig.
Yeah.
It would what?
It will blow up the size of it because you have to put it in every single listener, and there are thousands of them. So you have a massive size of the text in the config.
I mean, I know we talked about also, like you talked about pulling the proxy in, we could pull the API in. Istio, right?
That's also there's a PR out there.
Right, I'm just saying, like, there are other ways of getting it in where we only have one source of truth instead of.
So we can fix the process, we still have the issue of how to do it out there. We might have situations when mismatch happens.
I think that the end variable on proxy is the easiest solution. It just sets it to some, like, hey, just set this end variable to 20.
Not environment. I mean, you can just set a flag Istio proxy. Use up to dictionaries would be.
Flag?
Yeah,
I mean, flag.
There are too many variables that no one really knows anymore.
No. So this particular problem is going to like completely go away in a very fundamental way. And if we add a flag, then we have to support the flag for much longer than we have to support the environment variable.
Really? Why is that?
Because if you remove a flag, then there's like a command line error can happen.
So that's based on some process. But if you tell people, customers, there is this flag, there is this variable that you can use, you have to support that. Doesn't matter if it's a flag or variable.
No, so the thing is,
The difference
at
is
some
the
point,
environment
it becomes
variable is set
irrelevant.
that nobody's reading it, nobody cares.
Correct, exactly. You can always set it and it's irrelevant, and sure, you can set it, but it's there to address a problem. Like I won't have to change my script and remove that environment variable once we don't need it. But if it's a flag, then I have to go back and say, oh, okay, this flag was removed. I need to like now change my stuff. I agree that we shouldn't use like truly API things in an environment variable, which also we do inside Istio. But in this case, because this is going to...
The danger is somebody runs in production with that variable, and then we just remove the support for that. They're going to run
No, but so we'll only remove the support for that when it's no longer relevant. So that's different, right?
Yeah.
Like that environment variable is to fix a problem.
Okay.
If the problem goes away,
It doesn't seem like the right fix, I guess. That's
Yeah,
my concern.
actually, if you
Even
look at it the other way, we in the next version we add 20 new things to the dictionary, and now somebody's got this stupid environment variable that's limiting the number of entries in our dictionary,
Right.
and we're inefficient in the encoding, and nobody notices.
Nobody can diagnose or tell why, because that variable is not documented anywhere.
and all this assumes that we're going to get rid of something soon, but who knows, right? It could be months and months and months.
Could make it a config and mix a client, I guess, if you're okay with extra line.
So, okay, so, you know, these are computers. I really wish the computers would fix themselves. We should be able to make this work without human intervention.
yes. So protocol negotiation then. Right,
So
like dictionary negotiation.
That or the CRD.
I don't. So CRD is again more configuration for user. We already have a lot of that. So if we can.
No, it's not user. Because pilot has scaling issues. The size of config. The more config you put into Envoy, the harder it is. And the dictionary is big.
Yeah.
Pushing that to every Envoy is gonna be quite a. We're gonna have objections.
All right. Okay, so
and so the other issue with CRD and pushing it that way is that it is duplicated, like always, right? There is no global context in which we can inject it. It has to be injected in either mixer filter or somewhere, but it's going to be duplicated for every listener.
Well, we could have a config map and then inject it as a sidecar injector, as a file, and we can read it on file. That would help with the size.
hey, realistically, in memory, the dictionary is just a couple K. It's not that big. It's just like 200 small strings or strings. Whatever.
Yeah, but we have this terrible Google protocol struct encoding of those. Actually, it's just an array, right?
Yeah, just an array of
Yeah,
strings.
dictionary is just an array. It's not an actual dict. It's just a list.
So that's why it bothered me to replicate it into every proxy's heap, because just a few hundred bytes.
Yeah, so I think so. Short-term fix is that we fix it in the 101 build, which is currently broken, and that's kind of the least, right?
So who's doing that?
Fix the process first.
Someone. I just brought it up, but someone has to do that.
Okay. Let's get it fixed.
Yes, absolutely. So I've actually assigned you the issue. So yeah.
All right. Do we think we can do also? The next step is, can we do a mechanism to prevent this from happening at build time?
I think the idea of having an integration test that's checking it, right?
Yeah, so we need to fix the process, so you're not allowed to
Right.
break it. At least, so we can keep it.
Well, yeah.
I can have a test to check for failing checks.
Yeah.
That should be easy.
So that failure will only happen if you happen to use an index that is higher. So if
we can read the dictionary and the last one, and then see if proxy rejects it.
Or we could change, Mixer and just say that, oh, we just reject it, saying, oh, this is too big.
Actually, I don't know how to do it because proxy needs to send it, right?
Yeah,
proxy needs to send the last attribute.
Correct. So you have to first read it, and then you have to put it in the header. That's all, right? Just put in the header value.
No, I need to know which dictionary proxy uses. It's not available in Istio report, right? Because it's hard. It's in the binary. So we need to add some kind of
Size, yeah.
Okay, so I think then the easier way to do it is to reject it like Martin was suggesting. I don't know if he still supports that or not, but to just reject it like really early, saying, hey, you have a newer dictionary, and this is not going to work.
Yeah, actually, I have yet another variation on that. We return an immediate failure right at the top of Mixer that says, then the Mixer says, this is my maximum dictionary index. And then the proxy doesn't need to send a new dictionary. It just stops using anything bigger than the index. But it has to do a retry.
Yeah. So that's the negotiation, right? So eventually it settles on the minimum index. Like talking to 5 mixers, it will. So I think that would involve change to the protocol, like actual change to the protocol. Like retry is not built in. So we could do that, but I think the first 2 steps, which will be much quicker, is first fix the problem, and 2, add the integration test with the change in Mixer to just reject it first of all, and then I think 3rd step we could add protocol negotiation.
I do it in the reverse order.
Okay.
Build the integration test,
and
validate if it's failing, and then validate that the thing we're thinking fixes it using that integration.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the test should be simple. We just look at the size of the dictionary from proxy. You can even add things to existing tests. A lot of unit tests.
No, if we add this, like just reject a larger index, then all tests will fail. Like we won't need we can have a separate test, but essentially anytime anyone tries to talk to Mixer, it will fail.
Yeah. Any proxy shot that updates fails, this will fail.
But effectively, that's what's happening now. This would just be a failure with a different string. Because it's failing now.
Well, so the thing is, right now the failure only occurs if you happen to use a string that has that index, and that may not happen in tests, which is how it passed all the tests.
Okay. Oh well. Now this goes to
bring it forward.
In Mono, it only works for SNI. So if you don't use SNI, then it doesn't happen. That's why we don't notice it.
Oh, because the SNI indexes are at the bottom?
Yeah, the mismatch bit is SNI.
Yeah.
So if we need to aggressively look at all attributes, that might, I have to go look at the logic. I don't remember anymore if this might slow us down. Doing an extra pass over the attributes. Maybe not. Not sure anymore.
Wait, but why do we have to do that, right? Like if we just reject it out of hand, saying, hey, look, the proxy is saying I have max index of 200 and Mixer has max index of 40, then just fail the call.
Oh, that way.
Yeah, like
the proxy,
it's a lot harsher than we have today.
Yes.
Yeah, the proxy does not give us its max. No, wait, I said it does. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, I think proxy does.
Okay, so you're right. So that'd be an extra if statement.
Right, and then that will fail so hard that it will not pass any of our integration tests. Then just by changing that, it just would not pass.
Okay, so presumably at this point, I couldn't make that change because our test would fail.
Right. So Peter is fixing the overall thing, and maybe you can first make it fail and then make the fix, and then one PR will go in where things pass.
Right. Yeah. Put the test in first. Watch them all fail.
Yeah.
Then put in the proxy SHA update or whatever to get the latest thing, and then
we should
commit that PR.
Okay, and so we also need the go generate fix, I think.
We do need that.
Okay.
That PR has been out for a while. I don't remember the state of it, but we should be able to.
Yeah, it's been ongoing. I don't. It's been there for a couple of weeks.
You already fixed it, right?
No, I don't think Newper was looking at it. I haven't actually done anything on this path. Well, as part of updating Go protos for the gRPC stuff, I was bringing it up to the latest, but I stopped because that was a lot of work. And then we also need a decision there. That's sort of orthogonal.
All right.
Okay.
Is there anything else we want to discuss today? We have 10 more minutes left. Does anyone on the call want to mention anything? Or?
There are some breakages with the attributes missing related to source. Source principle is missing on master right now. So I have a bug that I assigned to all people.
Source principle is missing? How did that happen?
Because there is a problem with the process that people who change proxy don't update Istio or check against Istio in general. And that's the result.
Okay. So that was deleted from something?
They changed how multiple filters coordinate, and I think something broke in the process inside Envoy. So they know about that, and it just will take time to fix. I disabled all the tests for that. It's assigned to them to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing, just wanted to mention for the folks on the call, and over the next couple of weeks, we're gonna present our roadmap for what we want to do for 1.1. I don't know if we'll have, we'll probably have a couple items called out for what we want to do beyond that.
So this goes to the TOC or what? Where? It goes back to you.
Yes. I'm not sure the exact process we had. So, yes, I'm not sure exactly what the process is here. But in this forum, I'd like to present what we want to do once it's been reasonably approved and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. Was there any update on, I know you were going to work on the check combinators doc?
Well, I made the changes to the doc. I'm waiting for feedback.
Okay.
A couple of alternatives to request.
Okay. Anything else that we should discuss before adjourning?
Oh, should we say something about open census?
I was going to wait until we had a doc more fully laying that out.
I just started working on that.
Okay.
Oh, you'll talk about it.
If you want to, yeah, go for it.
I say, well, we'll talk about it next week after we have the doc we can share. And...
Okay.
The next 2 weeks, I guess.
Okay. I think that's it. I don't know who's stuck around with it. It might be just you, Martin. So, unless anyone else.
Oh, were we going to change this meeting to Hangouts?
Yes.
Yes, and I dropped the ball on that. So I will do it right away after this meeting, and then next meeting will be on Hangouts.
Okay.
And we'll need to send the message out to the mailing list and everything else.
And you need to update the community repo with the right link, meeting link or something.
They removed all that, didn't they? Because of the spam that was coming out.
Oh yes, we removed that, right? Because random people joining meetings.
So yeah, we got to find the right way to tell everyone. I think it's on the. I think mailing list is now the preferred distribution channel for that.
Oh, okay. All right. See you guys later.
All right, take care.
Bye. So.